Welcome back to Turner Tools, EdTech tips and tricks to help you work smarter, not harder. All right, let's tackle the biggie, the beast that is Google Drive. I saw that several of you chose Shared with Me as one of the items that you are trying to organize. I will start by saying that Shared with Me is a black hole of despair. Never go there. Never look. Be afraid. Be very afraid. But on a more serious note, each of the items on the side of the Google Drive are like bookmarks or searches. They're not real folders. Shared with Me in particular is not something that you want to use on a daily basis. I have two suggestions on Shared with Me. The first is to move any items that you want to access on a regular basis to your own drive. You can do this by right-clicking on the item and choosing Add Shortcut to Drive. Then a pop-up will appear as to where you want to put that file. You can then go to your drive or a shared drive and create a folder for easy access. Please note that any files that originate and Shared with Me do not belong to you. Therefore, if the owner deletes or changes the share setting on their account or their account is deleted, then access to that file is revoked. My other suggestion is to create a shared drive. A shared drive is like a network drive on a PC. It is hosted or owned by the domain, in my case, OCM BOCES. Therefore, if I leave, the files are still in that folder. The files are more easily accessible by all parties rather than sharing documents via Shared with Me or through email. Have a common shared drive. This could be a shared drive for all district forms or between you and a TA, or a TA and a teacher. It could also be among an entire grade level team. All right, moving on to your files in My Drive. This is where the type of organizer that you are will come into play. If you are somebody that needs broad categories, then do that. If you are someone who is a micro organizer, then create those types of categories. Another thing to think about is your color coding scheme if you're somebody who is extremely visual. For Google Drive, I create folders for my different projects and classes. I will also create folders by year that I am able to sort items into when that year has passed, and I will no longer be using that content on a daily basis. Another tip that I use for getting folders or items within the folder to be in order that I want is to add a number to the beginning. For example, 01. If you have more than 9 items, you will need to add the 0 before the number. As soon as you get to 10, the alphabetical order would go 1, then 10 without the 0. Another tip is to use significant emojis. Adding an emoji to the beginning of a title will move it to the beginning of the list. It will also be a good symbol for easy locating of a folder. Visual information can be processed 60,000 times faster than text, and is easier to remember. Researchers say that people tend to remember only 20% of what they read, but around 37% of the population are visual learners. That means that they tend to perceive visual information like images or infographics better than text or audio. Another tip would be to change the color of the folder. Come up with a color scheme and even post it near your computer. Perhaps yellow folders are for 7th grade, or pink folders are for personal matters, or blue folders might be for district forms. A quick note that everything from Google Classroom is housed in Google Drive. Therefore, you have access to all of those submissions from your Google Drive. This can sometimes be easier when trying to locate a specific student's work. Yet another tip I use when posting items to my website and items I want to easily share with others is creating a folder that has the sharing permission set to public. That way I can add items to this folder and not have to remember to change the sharing permissions. The link is ready to go. That way I colored it green to signify that it's open and good to go. Some of this organization will happen on the spot, and that's okay. When I was sorting some of my items, I discovered that I had recipes that I had shared with colleagues at work. I decided I needed an other personal folder for items that didn't fit into another location, but were not as clearly delineated as work-related items. The system is going to vary depending on your needs. So take a look at the document and begin to decide what your file structure might be. You might need to edit what you've already put in. Naming conventions for specific files should also be thought about. What types of naming conventions makes the most sense to you and will be clear to anyone who you share it with? This is key. I find that if I start with a year, that makes sorting much easier for me. For this slide deck, I chose the naming convention 22-7-30 Digital Organization PD M-02. That means I started the slide deck on July 30th, 2022. It was part of the Digital Organization Professional Development, and it is Module 2. If I was feeling fancy, I might add a mailbox or envelope emoji at the end. If you anticipate more than one version, I suggest adding a V period and the number of the version to the end. I have included an article I found about naming conventions that you might find helpful. Thank you for tuning in to Turner Tools. Remember to like and subscribe. I hope you learned something new to help you make awesome happen. Have a fabulous day.